Okay, I'm sure we'll have a few more join us. In the meantime, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. My name is Zach Olson. I am the project manager of new initiatives here at the Iowa Center. Last week, we had what was our last regularly scheduled Small Business Essentials for the year, but we wanted to sneak in one last topic before we leave 2020 behind. Before we get started, I just have a couple quick notes. One, we are recording today so that you or anyone who may have missed it today can watch it on our website later. And two, if you have any questions or comments, please use the chat Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We will stop every once in a while to answer those questions, and we'll leave a little bit of time at the end for some general Q&A. Okay, so since the rollout of the Paycheck Protection Program earlier this year, one question comes up for me and everyone at the Iowa Center with our clients more than any other question, and that is, what do I do about loan forgiveness? For the most part, we all know that those loans can be forgiven if certain parameters are met. But if you're like me, that's kind of where it gets murky and you don't really know what's what anymore. So here today to help us understand that process and what you need to know as a small business owner is Gary Lynn. Gary graduated with a BS of Finance from the University of Iowa, go Hawks, and a Master's of Professional Accountancy from the University of Wisconsin. Nowadays, he is a member of the accounting and audit team at Community CPA and Associates here in Des Moines. Gary, thank you so much for joining us today and on relatively short notice. I'm really excited to learn a little bit more, which is to say, learn anything about PPP loan forgiveness. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it right over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Zach. So today we are going to talk about PPP forgiveness. Yep. Thank you for joining us. Let's get started. So let me just introduce me a little bit. So I'm Gary Lynn, and I'm a CPA. And you can see my email here. My email is gary@communitycpa.com. And I'm currently working as accountant at Community CPA. It's a public accounting firm in Des Moines. And we work on accounting, tax, audit, and legal. So if you have any questions after this webinar, feel free to reach out to us. We currently have two offices in Iowa, one in Des Moines, one in Iowa City. And also we have a Minnesota branch in Minneapolis. And our office phone number is 515-288-3188. So if you have any question related to PPP forgiveness, tax, audit, just feel free to reach out to me or our firm. Okay, so let's get started to today's topic. So I'm going to introduce the PPP forgiveness form. So when are you going to apply your PPP forgiveness? You can apply your PPP forgiveness 10 months after the end of cover period. So let's say if your cover period ends in December 31st, then you will have 10 months to apply, which is you have until October 2021. So within this 10 months, then you are good. As long as you apply the forgiveness, you don't have to pay any interest or penalty. So in terms of the forms, there are three forms you can use. So the first one is 3508S. So this one is easy to use. So to be qualified to use this form, as long as you receive your PPP amount less than 50,000, then you are qualified to use this form. So if you use 3805S, you will only need to fill out your basic information and also attach your payroll report and then submit to the bank. That's it. So there are two other forms as well. The first one is 3508 Easy form. So this one is a little bit more complicated than 3508S, which I will cover later in the webinar. And also there's a 3508, just the regular form. This one is longer and it requires more calculations. So you will provide more comprehensive documentation to the banker. So basically there's just these three forms you can choose. And based on your situation, based on the amount that you received, then you will choose one of the form to submit to the bank. So today I'm going to cover 3508 Easy. and also 3508, just regular form. So let's get started. So who qualifies for 3508 Easy? So when you apply for the PPP loan as a self-employee or independent contractor or sole proprietor with no employees, then you are qualified. So if you're how do you know if you're a self-employee or independent contractor? If you file your tax return 1040 and you've also filed Schedule C, then you are self-employee. So you will be qualified to use this 3508 Easy form. But remember, the only employee that you can have is yourself. So you need to have no employees to qualify to use 3508 Easy form. And the second one is you did not reduce the salary or wage for any employee by more than 25%. And you did not reduce the number of hours of your employees. So in terms of reducing the number of hours, let me give you an example. So before the COVID-19, let's say you have 2 employees and each one, they work 20 hours. So total, they work 40 hours. But within this COVID period, within this COVID-19 pandemic, you only have 1 worker. But that 1 worker itself, he already worked for 40 hours. So even though you have the reduce of head count of the people, but the hours did not reduce because 2 people work 20 hours each is equal to 1 person working 40 hours. So in this case, you did not reduce the hours of your employees. So in this case, you are good. You are qualified to use Easy form. So the third point is that you did not reduce the salary or wage for any employee by more than 25% during your covered period. And also you experience reduction in the business activity. So it's directed by the House Directive related to COVID-19 that says if your like state government order you to shut down or you are like a CDC guidance won't let you operate in your full capacity. So that all qualify to the third point. So as long as you qualify any one of the 3 points, then you are qualified to use this 3508 Easy. So let me let's look at the actual form here. So I have a case study that I will explain. The form, how to fill out the form, and walk you through step by step. So this case study, John Smith, he's a Schedule C, so sole proprietor with no employee, and the business name is called John's Loan Care. And let's just assume the PPP loan number is 123456790. And the loan disbursement day is June 19, 2020. And the total amount that he received is $5,793. And in this case, we choose the covered period to be 24 weeks. So it's approximately 168 days. And because it is Schedule C, sole proprietor, the payroll schedule is called Other, Schedule C. So let's look at the actual form and see what does it look like. Okay, let me enlarge here. So okay, so this is the actual 3508 Easy form. So first of all, you need to fill out your name. Because you are Schedule C, so here you need to fill in your name instead of the business name. Because Schedule C, you will file as 1040, which is your personal tax return. So you need to put in your name first instead of the business name. But where do you put your business name? You can put it here as a DBA or trade name. So in this case, I will put John's Loan Care here. And also you need to fill in your business address here, and also your EIN number. If your Schedule C have an EIN number, you put it here. If you don't, you will need to put in your Social Security number for here. And you will also put in your phone number and your contact, your main contact, which I assume is the owner itself, and also the email address. Okay, so the first one you need to fill out here is the SBA PPP loan number. So when you sign the loan agreement with the bank, on the loan agreement itself, it should have two sets of numbers. First number is the SBA PPP loan number, and the other one is the lender PPP loan number. These two numbers are different. So if you don't remember or you cannot find your number, you can always go to bank. The bank will let you know what is your SBA PPP loan number or the lender PPP loan number. Okay, so the next thing you need to fill out is your PPP loan amount. In this case, we have $5,793. And your loan disbursement date is June 19, 2020. So let me emphasize here. So the loan disbursement date is not the day you sign your loan agreement. It's the day that the money actually deposited into your bank account. So if you go over your bank statement, you will see like what day exactly the money went into your bank account. That is the day that we can start counting as the loan disbursement day, and it's the first day for our cover period. Okay, so the next one is your employee at times of loan application. So because in this case we have Schedule C, which is self-employee. We only have one employee, and at the time of the forgiveness application, we still have one. So in this case, we don't have EIDL advance amount. If you do receive the EIDL advance amount, then you will need to put this the amount you received here, and along with the EIDL application number. Okay, so here comes the payroll schedule. Because it's a Schedule C, it's not weekly, it's not bi-weekly. So you need to click put other and write down Schedule C. Okay, so what's our cover period? As I mentioned, the first day the money hit our account. So the first day is June 19, 2020, and we count 24 weeks. So it was the cover period will be June 19 to December 3rd, 2020. So this is our cover period. As long as we spend the money within this cover period, then you will be qualified for forgiveness. So let's move on to so this alternative period. I will explain it later in the next example. And also, if the borrower received PPP loan in excess of $2 million, you need to check this box here. Okay. So in this case, we have payroll costs. So everything we received, we spend it on payroll. So we put it $5,793 here. And also, if you have business mortgage, if you have any business rent, lease payment, or utility payment, you can always put it here. So in order to be the qualified expense for PPP, there's four, so you can see there's 4 items: payroll, business mortgage, business rent, and business utility payment. So all these 4 expenses, you can put it here, and it will be qualified to be forgiven as your PPP forgiveness. So let's move down to line 5. So line 5 is asks you to add the amount on line 1, 2, 3, 4. So since we don't have any business interest, business mortgage interest, we don't have any business rent, utility, the only expense we have is the $5,793 payroll cost. So then we just put it here on line 5. So on line 6, you will write down the actual amount that you received, the PPP loan amount. For line 7, it's the payroll cost, 60% requirement. So how do you calculate the 60% requirement? So you use this one, you divide the line 1 by 0.6. So what is line 1? Line 1 is your payroll cost. You use this 5,793 divided by 0.6, then you will get the number here. So for line 8 is your forgiveness amount. This is the amount that you will be forgiven. So you need to choose the smallest number of line 5, 6, and 7. So apparently, based on our calculation here, the smallest amount is the 5,793. So that's the amount that we will be forgiven after you submit this form to the bank. So the easy form is relatively easy. You only need to fill out this number without any further calculation. So let's look at the next page. So next page is just you need to initial some certification. So for example, the first one is saying that you used your money correctly in compliance with the SBA rule. So which means you spend your money on payroll, you spend your money on utility, on rent, on your business mortgage interest. So basically all those certification is saying that you did not provide false information to them and everything you provide is accurate. So once you fill out the first page, you will come here and initial your name and your signature and date it. And also put in your name and your title. So this is the second page of the easy form. So the third page, this one is optional. It's just asking you about like, are you a veteran? Are you and your gender and your race? So this one optional. If you don't want to submit it to the bank, you don't have to. So yep, that's that. So this is the 3-page about this easy form. So let's talk about the documents that you need to submit when you choose to use this 350A easy form. So of course you need to submit the 350A easy, and also you will need to submit your payroll report. So the payroll report means that you need to list out all your employees, their wage, their rate, their hours, and the total gross pay they received. So basically on the payroll report, it will say this employee from when to when received how much, and by the hourly rate is how much. So that's your payroll report. And also you will need to attach your federal and state filing. For example, you need to file your 941 quarterly, and you need to file the unemployment insurance. So those reports that you file with federal and state quarterly, you will want to submit it with your easy application. And also you can, if you don't have like a payroll report, you can also submit your bank statements as your supporting document, because your bank statement will show what day this payment goes out as payroll. So if you don't have like a detailed proper documentation about your payroll report, you can also submit your bank statement as well. And for non-payroll costs, so if you have utility, you have payment, you have rent payment, you can submit the invoice or the contract showing that this obligation is already exist before February 15, 2020. So before the COVID-19 hits, you already need to pay the rent. It's not something that come up after the COVID-19. So those are the things that you will need to submit along with your easy application. So let's look at the document that you don't have to submit, but you need to maintain, because after you submit the application, the bank may come back and saying, okay, hey, we need additional documents. Please provide this or that. So here you need to maintain the documentation supporting the certification that the annual salary or hourly wage were not reduced by 25% during the cover period and between the January 1st and March 31st. So basically what it's saying is that you need to provide a documentation showing the first quarter of 2020 and the cover period, you did not reduce any of your employee salary by more than 25%. Because we did not submit any calculation to them, so you will need to maintain this document in case if the bank or the SBA need it for proof. And the second one is the documentation regarding any employee job offer and refusal. So, so if you have a reduction in employees' hours or employee number, but it's not because you it's because the employee refused your offer, then you will need to provide this document to the SBA saying it's not, it's not you voluntarily not hiring people back. It's the employee himself refused to come back. So you will need to have this in paper. You can you can write on paper, or you can use an email communication. As long as it's a documentation, then you will need to submit to the SBA if they ask for it. And also, so for this next one, it's a documentation supporting that you did not reduce the number of employee or the average pay hours of employee during between January 1st to the end of cover period. So this is what I was talking about. 2 employee working 20 hours each, and and during cover period, 1 employee worked 40 hours. So you need to document that the total hours your employee work did not reduce during this period from January 1st till the end of cover period. You don't have to submit that. You just need to have a documentation. So the next one is the supporting documents that you were unable to operate between February 15 and the end of cover period to the same level of business activity as before February 15 because of the compliance to the requirement established. So I know a lot of states that require that, like restaurant, bars to shut down. So if that's the case, you can submit this documentation telling SBA it's not like I don't want to operate to the level before February 15. It's because the government does not allow me. So that will be a legit reason that you reduce your hours of employee and or headcount of employee. So the next point is, after you got forgiven by the bank, you will need to keep all the files related to PPP for at least 6 years. Within these 6 years, the SBA has the right to come back to you saying they require additional documents. Yep, so that's about the easy form and the document you need to maintain and submit. So let's move on to the more complicated case here. So who qualify for 3508 regular form? So the people who does not qualify for a 3508S or easy form, they have no choice. They can only use this 3508 form. And this form, regular form, has some features. The first one, you need to calculate the FTE, the full-time equivalent, and your wage reduction. So you can choose your reference period. The FTE you calculate during cover period, you can use it to compare to January 1st to February 29th, 2020, or you can choose to compare to the February 15th to June 30, 2019. So those 2 periods, you can choose which is more beneficial to you. So the principle here is that the FTE you calculate in the cover period need to be more than one of these 2 periods. So as you can see, this one will require some FTE calculation, which I will show you how later in my slide. And there's one more thing about this form, is that this form require a comprehensive documentation. You will show them how you calculate it, how you calculate the FTE, how you calculate the wage reduction. So when you submit it to the bank, they will know the big picture of how your forgiveness is doing. So they will not like come back to you asking for detailed communication because documentation, because you already provided to them. So let's look at the next example here. So this example, John Smith, it's a corporation with 9 employees. So the business name is still John Lawn Care, and PPP loan number is we just assume is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0, and the disbursement day is May 13, 2020. And as I mentioned earlier, the loan disbursement day is the day the money actually hit your account. And in this case, the loan amount is $52,735. And for this cover period, we will choose 8 weeks. So for the PPP forgiveness, you can either choose 8 weeks if you already spent all your money within 8 weeks, or you can choose 24 weeks. It's just your preference. And in this case, the payroll schedule is biweekly. And in this case, we also have some non-payroll costs, which is $10,802 for rent and $4,493.58 for utility. So those are the basic information. I'm going to present my 3508 regular form. Okay, so let's look at the actual form here. Okay, so this one is the actual form 3508 form. So as just the same as easy, you need to fill out your business legal name here, your address, your EIN, TIN, and your phone number, and the contact and email. And same as here, SBA PPP loan number, lender PPP loan number. So these two numbers are different. If you don't remember or you don't know, you can ask your bank. They will give the number to you. And in this case, the PPP loan number is 52,735. And the loan disbursement day is May 13, 2020. And the employee that we have when we apply is nine employees. And when we apply for the forgiveness application, we still have 9 employees. And in this case, we do not have any EID or advance or application number because we do not get any. And the payroll schedule, as I mentioned, is biweekly. And the cover period is May 13, 2020 to, because we are using 8 weeks only, so it's to July 7, 2020. So here I want to talk about this alternative payroll cover period. So under what situation you can choose to use alternative payroll cover period? If your payroll schedule is biweekly or more often, which is like weekly, if you are weekly, bi-weekly, or daily, you can choose to do this alternative payroll. If you receive your money on May 13th, but your next period start date is May 24th, then you can choose May 24th as your start date of your cover period. You do not have to use this May 13th. Because May 13 is in the middle of your pay period, which will make your calculation really difficult. So if your pay schedule is biweekly or weekly, you can choose this alternative payroll cover period, and the first day will be the next coming payroll period, which in this case is May 24th to July 18th. So you just count 8 weeks from May 24th, and then you can have the ending period as July 18, 2020. Okay, so let's move down here to see some numbers. So line 1, payroll cost. So you can see here is to enter the amount from PPP Schedule A910. So the interesting thing about this 3508 form is that you cannot fill out like in one set. as the easy form, you will need to have fill out the other form first in order to fill out this number. So let's look at what is PPP Schedule A line 10. So this is PPP Schedule A, and let's go to line 10. So you see line 10 here is total payroll cost. You need to add line 146789. So if you go up here, you'll see the first one, line 1, is to enter cash compensation from PPP Schedule A worksheet, table 1. So in order to get this number, you will need to complete the PPP Schedule A worksheet. So let's look at the PPP Schedule A worksheet. So this page is the PPP Schedule A worksheet. So in this table 1 here, you will list all your employees that were working during this cover period, and they received the compensation less than 100,000 in 2019, or they were not even employee in 2019. So basically what it says is that the during the cover period, the employee that worked for you and they also receive less than 100,000 per year, then you will need to list them here. So you need to list out employee name, as you can see here. I list out the name here, and also you will need to fill out this employee identifier. The employee identifier is the last 4 digits of their social security number. So you need to fill the last 4 digits of the SSN here. And also you will need to fill out this cash compensation. So this cash compensation is their gross pay. You don't have to deduct any tax or any withholding. It's just the gross pay. You just need to fill out their, based on the payroll report, how many hours they work and by how many rate. You just need to fill the number here. And also this average FTE, I will show you how you calculate this FTE in the next page. And also for this salary, hourly, and hourly wage reduction, you will need to compare if you reduce any of their rate by more than 25%. So let me show you how to calculate this average FTE. So this is the FTE calculation. You can see I list all the employees' name here and all their gross pay and all their hours. So all the hours here, and I need to come up with their hourly rate, and I need to come up with their FTE. So for example, this employee, how do I come up with the FTE as 1? It's because the total hours that they work during this 8 weeks period is 408 hours, 0.32 hours. So I divide by 8 weeks, then I get their hours per week. Then I divide by 40 hours, then I get their FTE number. It's 1.276. But for the FTE number, the cap is 1. So the largest number you can have is 1. So this 1.276, I will just fill in 1 for this employee. So let's look at the other one. For this employee, he only worked 140.87 hours during these 8 weeks. So when I divide by 8 weeks and divide 40 hours, it gets me to 0.44. So in this FTE calculation, I just need to fill in 0.4. So after you have done all this calculation for each individual employee, you will get the FTE, the total FTE during this cover period. You just need to add up everybody's FTE. So if you see the bottom left corner here, The wage employee is 33,762. It's 4,000 different than this number here. Is because there's a wage business owner. Business owner is excluded from the table 1 and table 2. Business owner will be listed as the other item on the payroll forgiveness schedule. So, and also in this case, we have paid state tax SUDA for $377. So this form is basically how you calculate your FTE and also your gross pay to employee to the owners. Yep. So in order to finish this PPP schedule worksheets, PPP schedule, you will need to do this calculation. Okay. So that's now we get the FTE number. Let's go back to the form here. So after you fill out everybody's name, employee identifier, and the gross pay, as we mentioned, is 33,762. But remember, owner's compensation is excluded from this table 1 and table 2. So when you fill out the form, you do not count the business owners in. So average FTE, as we calculated on the page that I show you, is 7.2. And this salary reduction is just to show, so you can easily see by the payroll report, is it, did you reduce your employee by more hourly rate by more than 25%? If it's no, then you just write 0 here. Okay, so after you finish this table 1, you can come to this table 2. So this table 2 is saying the employee that you employ during this cover period, if they receive more than 100,000 during 2019, then you need to fill their name here instead of in table 1. So in this case, we don't have anyone received 100,000 last year, so I leave it blank. So here you can see the FTE reduction safe harbor is saying if you have any reduction of hours or FTE, any reduction between this February 15 and April 26 because of the following reason. Because maybe the state does not allow you to operate, the state want you to close for a couple months. So if you have those kind of reason, and you are qualified for this FTE reduction safe harbor. So, but in this case, we don't have any reduction in FTE, so we don't fill out anything here. So after you finish with this table 1, we need to go back up to the page, to this page. Okay, so line 1 is enter cash compensation box 1 from PPP Schedule A worksheet table 1. So we already got this number from our table 1 calculation. It's 33,762. And also on line 2, you will need to enter your FTE that you just calculated in table 1, which is 7.2. And line 3 is asking you if you have any salary reduction. If you don't, you check this box and enter 0. So in this case, we don't. We just enter 0 here. And let's go down. It will ask you about the numbers from table 2. But in this case, we don't have anyone employed in 2019 and receive more than 100,000. So we say it's 0, 0 here. And for those non-cash compensation payroll costs, if you pay any employer contribution for employee health insurance, or you pay any employee retirement plan, or you pay any state and local tax, you can write the number here. So in this case, we have 377.64 cents for the taxes we pay to the state. So line 9 here is asking about the compensation to owners. As we mentioned, there's $4,000 that's paid to employer, the owner. So you see table 1 or table 1 or table 2, you do not list your owner compensation there. You will need to write down here on line 9 when he asks about the compensation to owners. Okay, so here comes line 10. After we calculate all those numbers, all those FTE, table 1, table 2, we finally can fill out the line 10 here. So when you add up all those numbers, 1, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, you come up with 38,140 and 48 cents. Here is your total payroll cost that you are going to use on the first page. So let's go down here. It will ask you full-time equivalent reduction calculation. If you qualify any of the following criteria, you check the box and skip line 11, 12, and enter 1 on line 13. So in this case, we don't have any reduction in employee or average hourly pay. So we click here, and then we will just enter 1 on line 13. If you qualify for the safe harbor, let's say, for example, the government requirement to ask you to shut down, so you will have reduction in FTE, then you will need to check this box and then still enter 1 here. So after we finish this page, we finally got the number from line 10, which is the number we want for the first page. So let's go back up to the first page of this 3508 form. So payroll costs, enter the amount from PPP Schedule 1, line 10. 38,140 and 48 cents is the number that we just calculated from the PPP Schedule A. And do we have any mortgage in this case? No, we don't. So I put it 0 here. And as I mentioned, we have some rent, about $10,802. And we have utility, $4,493.58. So you fill out all those qualified expenses here, and then you go down here. You will ask you, do you have any reduction, salary or hourly wage reduction? In this case, we don't. So we just put a 0 here. And also for line 6, you will add the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then subtract the amount you enter in line 5. So in this case, in line 5, we have 0. So we just need to add up all those numbers above. So it comes up to $53,436.06. And this FTE number is coming from the PPP Schedule 8, line 13. We fill out 1 because we do not have any FTE reduction. So here comes line 8, the modified total. So you need to multiply line 6 by line 7. So basically this number is equal to line 6 because our line 7 FTE reduction is 1. So let's go to line 9. Line 9 is asking about the PPP loan amount. You just put down the amount that you received. And line 10 is asking about payroll costs, 60% requirement. Just the same as the easy form. You need to divide the line 1, which is your payroll cost, by 0.6. And you will come up with this number, 63,567. And here comes the last line to asking you about the forgiveness amount. And this amount is that you choose the smallest amount, line 8, line, and 10. So the smallest amount among these 3 numbers is 52,735. So it means you will get forgive for 52,735, which is 100% of the PPP that you receive. So this is basically how you fill out the 3508 form. So it's not like the easy form you can finish in one shot. No, for this regular 3508, you will need to do some more calculations in order to get all those numbers. So if you read the instruction here, you will know where you need to go And also there's one thing I would like to mention here. So this EIDL events, if you receive, like let's say if you receive 2,000 EIDL events, even though your PPP loan is got fully forgiven, is 100% forgiven, this 2,000 EIDL events will deduct from the your PPP forgiveness amount, because you cannot get both free money. You will just need to, you will either get the free money, just either one of them. So if you have 2,000 for EIDL events, it will deduct from your forgiveness amount. Yeah. So here is basically how you fill out this form. And let's move on to the next page. So second page is the same as the EV form. You just need to certify that all the payroll costs, your utility, your rent, all the information that you provided is accurate, is correct. You did not provide any wrong information or false information. So after you initial here, you just need to sign and then sign and date it. Yep, that's how you fill this form. And you just fill out all those numbers that we calculated here. So you fill out your cash compensation from table 1 and table 2, and all those costs that you pay to the state or a retirement plan, health insurance. You come up with your total payroll cost. So I think we already went through this. I think, yeah, the calculation is just coming from your FTE calculation and other stuff. So let's move on to the next page. So here is your table 1, that where you need to list out all your employee, identify number, and your FTE and reduction. You will need to submit this page to along with the application as well. And your FTE calculation, I just show everyone how you calculate the FTE for each employee. And the last page of the application is just the optional page that will ask you about your race, your gender. It's optional. If you don't want to submit, you don't have to. So that's how you fill out the 350A form. So let's talk about the documents that you need to submit it when you use this 350A regular form. So you need to, of course, you need to submit the loan forgiveness calculation form, which the first page. And also you need to submit this PPP Schedule A, where you calculate, all those payroll costs and FTE. And also for the payroll costs, you need to submit your payroll report, your federal and state filing. So your payroll report, you will need to list all your employees' hourly wage and the cash compensation they received. And also, if you don't have the payroll report, you can also submit the bank statements or the receipts. And also, because you already calculated the FTE number, so SBA would like to know how did you calculate it. So the FTE calculation will need to be submitted as well. And also for non-payroll costs, for example, in my case, I have some utility and rent. You will need to also submit the invoice and contract showing that the obligation is already existed before February 15th. So those are the things that is required to submit when you are using the 350A form. So let's go to the documents that you need to maintain. It's basically the same as the easy form requirement. So I'm gonna quickly go through this again. The document supporting that you did not reduce the salary or the wage by more than 25% between cover period and January 1st to March 31st. And also you need to document any employee that refuse to come back, that refuse to accept your job offer. And also you need to document that you did not reduce the number of employee or the average pay hours. So this is talking about FTE reduction. And also you need to document that if you are unable to operate at the same level as before February 15, because of some compliance to the state, to the CDC, you will need to download like official document from their website, or you can just talk to their state official to have them send you some documents. And again, so after you got forgiven, you will need to keep all these documents for at least 6 years. So within 6 years, the SBA has a right to come back to you and asking for more information. So you just need to keep it in a place that you will not forget. Okay. So here is all the PPP forgiveness form that I cover. So I cover 3508 EZ and I cover the 3508. So if you have any questions, I can answer it here, or if I cannot, I don't have, if you cannot ask me here, you can feel free to reach out to me. My name is Gary Lin, and my number is 515-288-3188. And here's my email, gary@communitycpa.com. So if anyone has any questions for me?
Gary, thank you so much. While we wait for potential questions to come in through the chat, I want to first say thank you so much. That's so much great information from you.
Yeah, no problem.
First question from our little group here at the Iowa Center is, well, let me ask you to clarify first real quick. On your first slide, you talked about 10 months after the end of your covered period. Is that 10 months when you have to submit your forms or when you can still use the funds?
No, that 10 months is when you need to submit the form.
Okay.
So
is there, sorry.
Yep. So basically you already spend your money during your cover period.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So during your cover period, you spend it all, and then 10 months after the end of cover period that you can submit your form. Yep.
So you have to use the funds within your covered period, and you have 2 options. Is that right, for covered period?
Yep. You can use either 8 weeks or 24 weeks. 24. If you already use all your money in 8 weeks, then you can choose it. But I think most of my, most of the clients that I have, they haven't used up their money within 8 weeks.
Sure.
Yep.
And I'm sorry if you covered any of this. Like I said, there was a lot of information and some of it might have gone over my head. What are qualified expenditures for PPP loan funds possible before the deadline?
4 qualified expense. The first one is payroll. And then the next one is the business mortgage interest. Mm-hmm. And the other one is more business rent. And the last one is the utility payment.
Got it.
But just remember, for those utility, for those rent, those obligations need to be existed before February 15th. So basically, before the COVID-19 hit, you already need to pay for those expenses.
We had quite a few questions come in that were very specific to particular employers' situations. And I think that we try to cover as many questions as we can and in as much detail as we can in these sessions, but correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but I kind of feel like with things that are so subjective and with such impact, like you being forgiven for loans and your company continuing to get funds, I think that maybe instead of going through those questions right at this moment, trying to go into those very specific detailed instances, maybe we just want to reiterate that if you have questions about your specific circumstances, you should really get in touch with a professional like Gary, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have one specific that's 2 paragraphs, and I think, again, while we really want to be able to cover that and answer everybody's questions, I think it's really so important for an expert to answer it with all of the information possible before the answer, right?
Right.
So I don't think we have any more questions at the moment. Oh, wait. We do have one question, sorry. Do you have any suggestions for sole proprietors that may not have good records of paying themselves?
Okay, so for sole proprietor, basically you are paying yourself. So if you don't have like a detailed payroll report, you can use your bank statements. But let's say if you don't even pay yourself, you can use your 2019 Schedule C tax return. There's a limit, there's a threshold of amount that a sole proprietor can use as their compensation. Like you don't have to really pay as a payroll, and you don't have to show your bank statement because you are sole proprietor. Basically, you're paying yourself. So there's no transfer in and out because everything you earn is paying to you. So you can use your 2019 tax return. There's a net income amount. So as long as your PPP amount is not over that your 2019 net income, that threshold, then you should be fine. You won't need to provide any payroll report or bank statement. But if you do have payroll report or bank statement, I would say you need to submit that as a proof. Yeah.
Very good, Juan. I hope that was a good answer for you. I don't see any other questions at the moment. Looks like that was good. Okay, with no further questions, I want to just remind you that this is going to be up on our website soon. Like I said, there's so much information in this that I think this more than, it's like all of our videos, but maybe even more so, this one's going to be good for replay factor with all of the information that Gary gave us today. And again, if you have questions about your specific circumstances, please don't hesitate to give us a call. Reach out directly to Community CPA and Gary, any expert in your town. They're here to help. We are here to help, and we want to make sure that you are getting the right answers and information for your business. We will send out a follow-up email to this with any resources that we talked about and a little contact information again for Gary. Like he has a slide here with his information. We'll send it again in an email. We have so many great new programs rolling out early 2021. So please keep your eye out on our website for new programs. And with that, with no more questions, I'm going to say, Gary Lynn, thank you so much for being with us today. You and Community CPA are such great volunteers for us, and we really, truly appreciate everything that you do for us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.